Welcome to Moon Vibes, your daily source of crypto news, delivered with just the right amount of chill. Moon Vibes only. Now here's your host, Crypto Kyle.
Hey, good morning and welcome back to the show. It is Friday morning and it's time for another Moon Vibes podcast, bringing this one to you extra early, which is my preference. I am an early bird. All those different types of sayings that I could expel right now, but I will spare you and myself the nostalgia of these old past sayings. But yes, I am up early, and I do go to work outside of this. But happy to have you here, guys. Excellent guest with us today in the form of Kate P. Waltman from taxeswithkate.com. You may have heard from her earlier this week on Tuesday on the Yacht Club, but more to come from her after the news and market recap portions of the show. Crypto Slate reporting this morning that Nike has made crucial metaverse moves following the acquisition of an NFT collectibles firm. Mid-December saw Nike announce the acquisition of RTFKT Studios, which they describe as a leading brand that leverages cutting-edge innovation to deliver next-generation collectibles that merge culture and gaming. Commenting on the acquisition, RTFKT co-founder Benoit Bagato said both firms share commonalities in innovation, creativity, and community. Bagato added that the move would see RTFKT expand its metaverse operations. Aave and Sushi swap price analysis. DeFi coins are on a rise. Register over a 7% hike. CoinGate reporting that over the last 24 hours, the crypto industry traded in the red, although some coins had already embarked on a northbound journey. Aave had risen by 9.6% in the last 24 hours, while Sushi Swap had lodged a gain of 7.1% within the same time frame. Near-term technicals of both the coins indicated positive price action on their respective charts. Both the coins toppled over their resistance lines and saw the entry of buyers into the market. Aave was trading for $262, while Sushi Swap was exchanging hands at $10.77. Yes, I pronounce it Aave, kind of like Aaron. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Somebody let me know. Send me a DM, comment, tweet me. I don't care, but that's how I say it thus far. I haven't heard anybody say it out loud, to be honest with you. Cointelegraph.com reporting this morning that Bitcoin has risen 7% to 36% in the first week of January each year since 2018. Some crypto market analysts are highlighting the potential for a green first week on the crypto markets in January as part of what the economist and trader Alex Kruger calls the first week of the year effect. Kruger pointed out in December 29th tweet that for the past 4 years straight, Bitcoin has enjoyed positive returns in the first week of January, ranging from 7 to 36%. Wow. Will that happen again this year? Who knows? Time will tell. Cointelegraph also reporting this morning that OpenSea has frozen $2.2 million worth of stolen Bored Apes. NFT marketplace OpenSea has frozen 16 Bored Ape and Mutant Ape non-fungible tokens after they were reportedly stolen yesterday from a New York art gallery operator. In total, 1 CloneX, 7 Mutant Ape Yacht Club, and 8 Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, currently valued at about 615 ETH, were stolen and are now not able to be traded on OpenSea. The ToddKramer.eth account, which links to the Ross Kramer Art Gallery in New York, fired off a series of tweets detailing the 16 NFTs that were stolen from his hot wallet and pleading with OpenSea and the NFT community for help. While the NFT community was unsympathetic to the trader's plight, OpenSea froze trading on these stolen items. Interesting. MicroStrategy buys another 94.2 million worth of Bitcoin. As of December 29th, the company held about 124,391 Bitcoins, purchased at the average price point of $30,159. Michael Saylor knows what he wants, and he keeps going for it, doesn't he? Impressive. All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into the market and see what we have going on here. Bitcoin currently at $47,364, up 1.17% for the day, down 7.35% for the week. Ethereum up 2.11% for the day at $3,748, down 8.60% for the week. Binance Coin at $515, down 0.31% for the day, down 5.50% for the week. Solana at $171.71, up 0.45% for the day, down just under 9% for the week. Cardano at $1.35, up 2.32% for the day, down 7.17% for the week. XRP at 83 cents, up 1.53% for the day, down just under 14% for the week. Terra Luna at $86, down up 5.85% for the day, down 11% for the week. Polkadot at $27.11, up 1.72% for the day, down 6.68% for the week. Dogecoin at 17 cents, down 5.99% for the week. Shiba Inu down 12% for the week at 0.403403. Polygon Matic at $2.55, up 3.15% for the day, down just under 2% for the week. And CRO from Crypto.com is at 55 cents, up 2.13% for the day, down 8.16% for the week. Well, that does it for the market recap. Guys, I appreciate you being here, but now let's give it up to our guest and move on to our interview portion of this podcast. All right, guys, as announced on the Yacht Club earlier this week, we have my new friend, Kate, the Excellent. I'm going to call her Kate the Excellent. She is a tax expert. She is a CPA, and she is incredibly fun to hang out with, as proven if you were in the Yacht Club. If you weren't, I'm sorry, you guys missed it. But she was a guest panelist, and she gave us some excellent advice on, on different elements of the crypto and NFT space and how those overlap with taxes, which is the big question on everyone's mind this year, going into tax season at the beginning of this upcoming year. Now, Kate is a professional and licensed CPA. She is a certified IRS tax preparer. She has been featured on Time and CoinDesk, and she has all different sorts of accomplishments under her belt, if you will. But again, happy to have you here, Kate. I know you were on the Yacht Club. I know it was your first experience on the Yacht Club. How confused were you at the top of the hour?
Hey, Kyle. Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, first of all. And thanks again for inviting me to the Yacht Club. It's my first virtual yacht party, if you will. And yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't really sure what to expect, to be honest, but I knew it was going to be fun, just given the hype and what I had sort of heard and deduced from Twitter about the Yacht Club. So pleasantly surprised. It was a lot of fun. The vibes were great. It's definitely not your average Twitter space in a good way.
Well, I appreciate that. We try to have a good time. It is kind of geared towards a late night TV show theme. There's reasons for that, but I won't get into them now. But if you're hanging around with us, which I know I'm definitely going to be bending your ear with all sorts of things for years to come, you'll definitely see how that kind of transitions into its next form as well. But again, happy to have you here. Now, we had you answer some questions, of course, on the Yacht Club, and I do have a few for you today. But first of all, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about who you are, and what kind of brought you to where you are now. I don't need your whole background. I don't need everything, but I mean, where'd you grow up? You obviously got tied into finances. What was in the realm of finances that brought you in and had you pursue that as a professional outfit?
Sure. So I am born and raised in New York, here in the States. I've also lived abroad a couple different places over the years. Spent some time in Tokyo, spent a couple years in New Zealand, but my roots are definitely here in the States, in New York. And I really just chose the path of accounting when I entered university because I wasn't very good at anything else, to be honest. I knew I definitely didn't want to go down the science or, medical route. Pretty clear that my artistic skills are lacking in a big way. And math was a subject that I did fairly well in school and liked enough. And so my parents encouraged me to explore business and accounting and found that actually in the first couple of years studying that it was a good fit. And so went through school, got my MBA, certified as a CPA, have practiced auditing, internal accounting, and most recently have turned my focus to tax work, which may sound boring to a lot of people, but out of those three, it's my personal favorite I found most interesting, if you can believe that. But really, in the last year, I've just personally become really intrigued with crypto and the NFT space and was investing personally and collecting NFTs, and then realized pretty quickly that not very many CPAs have taken the leap to really try to learn about a lot of the nuance in this space and put themselves out there and say, hey, I'm someone that you can come to with questions. I'm a professional advisor in this space. And so when I realized that there were maybe half a dozen, folks like me who had been well versed enough in this space to try to take it on professionally, I thought, why don't I put all the chips on the table? That's when I decided to leave the corporate world, go out on my own and make Web3 essentially my 100% focus. And it's been a blast. The first time I can really say that I'm thoroughly enjoying all of the aspects of my professional, career, which is really cool.
No, that's awesome. That's the goal, isn't it? To do what you actually enjoy doing makes it a lot less work most of the time, anyways. I imagine even if you were, since you love it, I guess, but crushing numbers all the time at some point it's got to get a little exhausting, even if you
Yeah, no,
love
it
doing
definitely
it.
it helps if it's, crunching numbers for something that's really interesting, like a cool NFT project launch or something, that definitely helps.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned, it's been in the last year, maybe a little bit more than that, that you've, kind of found your focus towards crypto related assets. Now, was it crypto, like in the form of tokens or coins, that caught your attention first, or was it NFTs that pulled you in?
Yeah, so it was actually Bitcoin initially. That was sort of the first crypto that I learned about and was sort of convinced enough on to pull the trigger and start investing personally, and was really intrigued by the financial freedom, concepts and goals that sort of Bitcoin was founded upon. That's really what pulled me in and intrigued me with the space. And then after, once you're sort of knee deep in Bitcoin, you want to dip your toes and explore Ethereum, and then you get into the different projects that are built on the Ethereum blockchain, exploring, some more altcoins. And then NFTs really just became sort of the next frontier, really. I thought, okay, I've got enough of an understanding of blockchain technology, full believer in it, full steam ahead. Let me just see, what this NFT thing's all about. And I'm sure, like most people, like once you have enough of an understanding about what the technology is, and once you have that aha moment and you realize the opportunity and what this technology is going to do in the coming decades, and how technology is a one-way street, like this is the direction we're heading, whether you like it or not. As soon as I had that aha moment, I realized even more so that this is actually the more prudent area to start to pay attention to. So that's when I dove headfirst into NFTs and found some really exciting projects that I'm really happy to support and be involved in.
That's awesome. So you'd say that aha moment was kind of that proponent that made you realize being invested in crypto and being interested in understanding its future is kind of what made you refocus what you could do as far as being a proponent of finance as well in your professional life.
Oh, definitely. It's become abundantly clear to me that if you own and operate a business and you don't have crypto on your balance sheet in some form or another, that you can't make the argument, in my opinion, that you're being the best steward of the resources that you have as a business. I mean, if you don't even incorporate 1% of your balance sheet into crypto, if that's all your risk tolerance will allow you to do, if you're not at least doing that, then I'm making the argument that you're absolutely not being the best steward of your business's resources. And so I think that's an argument that's really indisputable at this point, in my opinion. And it's really just a matter of being a knowledge gap problem. I think a lot of people who are running businesses today still view crypto as a very unregulated, very volatile, high risk investment, and they just don't know enough about the technology to be convinced to even make that small 1% investment. And so I think what we can all do is just sort of contribute to that knowledge reaching farther and wider, so that more people understand that even a 1% investment into crypto or NFTs is going to have a multitude of benefit to your business and to you personally. So yeah, I could not agree more with you there.
Yeah, I find it interesting that some of these Fortune 500 companies, that they have actually had some investments or people looking at crypto and blockchain, but they haven't been public about it because of the fear of how it would be taken, or the fear of people who weren't ready to jump into adoption would take that. So it is interesting to see, people like Tim Cook from Apple and some of these other, large investment firms having different people come out and say, hey, actually, I've been holding Bitcoin for the last 10 years or the last 5 years, or I got in crypto 2 years ago. But then kind of side shelving it with maybe some off color comments. It's just not financial advice, right? But yes, I've been putting some money there. And I think you're going to continue to see people kind of coming out of the woodwork saying, oh yeah, I've been here all along. It was like, yeah, but you were just quoted a year ago saying it was monopoly money.
No, you're totally right. And I mean, I think that's with respect to like publicly traded companies too. That's sort of the biggest fear, right? Is that any amount of investment, if you've got thousands of shareholders that in theory all have a say, and you make a decision like putting a portion of your balance sheet, into Bitcoin or other crypto, you've got all of your shareholders and the public eye to answer to, regarding that investment. And like we talked about, because the knowledge of this technology and its, potential opportunity isn't widespread enough, overwhelmingly the amount of feedback you're going to get is going to be negative feedback rather than positive feedback. And if you're a publicly traded company, that's enough reason just not to even bother. But I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Saylor. He's the founder and CEO of MicroStrategy, huge whale in the Bitcoin space. And when he was initially thinking about moving some of MicroStrategy's balance sheet into Bitcoin, he said, all right, we're definitely going to get, negative pushback. We may need to, just put this out there as a announcement to all the shareholders, notify them, give them an opportunity for us to buy them back out at a premium if they don't want to participate anymore, because this is the direction we're heading in. We'll just start with a small percentage at first, see how the shareholders respond. So he put out the announcement, had a time frame for people to be able to pull out if they wanted to or not. Got some people that did, have some negative opinions pulled out. But over time, he's actually managed to move almost 100% of MicroStrategy, publicly traded company, almost 100% of their balance sheet is in Bitcoin now. And which is one of the reasons why I've personally been started to pay attention to that company.
Yeah, absolutely. And mentioning Mr. Saylor, MicroStrategy just purchased another 94.2 million worth of Bitcoin this month.
Yeah, they're making big moves. I'm really inspired and intrigued each time I hear about their next move. It's just bigger and better.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Now I want to retrace just a little bit, just because I am a lover of Japan and Tokyo. How long did you stay in Tokyo for?
Yeah, so I was in Tokyo for a year, moved there in 2013. And spent a year teaching English over there at Tokyo Metropolitan University, which was incredible. I was in my early 20s at the time and had never really traveled abroad before. And so that was my first big trip abroad. And I moved there, didn't know anyone, had studied the language a bit thought I'd fare better when I landed, with communicating, but reality check, day one when I was trying to take a train, from the airport to my new apartment, in Shibuya, that didn't work out so well. So it was great though. Every day was a learning experience. By the time
that was my next question, was where you lived at. So you lived near Shibuya Crossing.
Yeah, a little neighborhood called Hatagaya, which is in Shibuya. It was great. But yeah, left after the year with a actually pretty decent, amount of Japanese. I've since lost a lot of that in the last 10 years or so, but it was one of the best years of my life. It was great. I love Japan.
That's awesome. Me too. Yeah, I've been there like 8 or 9 times, something like that.
Wow.
And
okay.
My wife and I actually got engaged in the Roppongi Tower overlooking the city.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
And we got engaged on TV on a show called Why Did You Come to Japan?
Oh my God, Kyle, that's amazing. I love that.
Pretty fun, yeah.
Do you have,
I actually, I love it over there. It's such a blast. Great food, great people.
Do you have a favorite spot, favorite place in Japan?
Man, well, Roppongi obviously is an area that I really like. Obviously, it's more Times Square than what most people would imagine, Tokyo to be. But Shinjuku, I mean, I like that you can fall through arcades after arcade into the city streets, and then go into another building, and next thing you know, you're in like a little ramen shop. There's also that, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the business, but the department store with the blue character that's like 7 stories.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. The name is
can't think of what it's called right now.
Oh my goodness.
But I love that store. That store's awesome.
We're terrible for forgetting, but no, I know what you mean. And I absolutely love that about Tokyo too, is that you get the Times Square big city experience, but inevitably nestled in all these little, pockets of the city are these little tiny noodle stands and, shrines and temples, and you can kind of get tucked away in the more traditional culture, even amongst this, all of the skyscrapers and big city vibe. So it's just the coolest place. I loved it.
It is. Yeah, actually in Shibuya, that little kind of back section over by that store I'm talking about that I can't remember the name of, they have those little small shops where 5 or 6 people will fit in there.
Yes, exactly.
I love that little stretch right there. There's so many good eats and little breweries down there.
Absolutely.
But anyways, I just had to bring that up because I'm a fan of Japan.
Likewise. And I'm so excited, just while we're on Japanese culture, so excited to see how a lot of the best elements of Japanese culture, like anime, like video gaming, how that all eventually translates into Web3 with NFTs and online gaming. I think that's going to be the biggest potential space to make an impact, and I'm just so excited. It's starting to trickle out, but when that really fully hits, I'm very, very curious to see how all that, evolves in Web3.
Absolutely. And I think right behind him is going to be anything Korean related, whether it's K-drama or K-pop. K-pop's already making moves in that way. And it's going to be incredible to see, what at least Americans would have kind of not paid attention to 5-6 years ago is going to be one of the main focuses of entertainment for a long time. Of course, Japan's been over in front of our eyes for a long time, but K-pop, K-drama, anything K-related really has been blowing up these last 3 or 4 years. So to be turning our attention across seas, which Americans don't like to do a lot of the time, it's great to be able to learn all these different lessons and just from the culture, the rich history and the respect some of these cultures have for one another and how they tell stories is so much different than what we see a lot of the time over here.
That's so well said, Kyle. Yeah. And that's exactly what I love about the culture is the depth and the, different angles for storytelling and just sharing about, what the human experience is. It's just the coolest. But I think you're absolutely right. It's the NFT space in particular, I think is overwhelmingly at this stage, US dominated, but in the very, very near future, I think Asia as a whole is going to really, make a big splash in the space. And it's going to be the people who are listening to this podcast who are already kind of knee deep in NFTs, in crypto, in Web3 that are going to be able to capitalize on getting involved in those early projects that emerge from Korea, from Japan, from Asia. It'll be imagine if you could back in the day, if Pokemon cards were released as an NFT initially, and if you were sort of new, if you knew, you were early enough to know, like, hey, that's going to be a great investment to be able to like NFT and own like Pokemon cards when they first came out. I mean, that'd be incredible. So we're kind of on the early end from this emerging tidal wave that's going to come through, and like we're going to be poised to be able to jump in as soon as Asia makes a splash.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny, I won't reveal the details here, but I have a huge idea for a whole world of K-dramas. But I'll keep that tight chest just in case I ever get hired to create anything like that. But I have a pretty fun idea. But again, moving on a little bit, but it's so fun. It really is so exciting. I like. It makes sense that we get along now because we have similar interests outside of crypto, for that matter. But one of my favorite NFT projects that I've come across this year is actually called Board Boy, and it's from an artist in Thailand. And she is hilarious, and she's always jumping in spaces and hanging out. We've been in spaces where people were shilling their NFT projects. We had people from all over the world, literally. Some had their practiced English pitch. And then when they were asked a question they weren't able to answer, they would just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So it's been fun. But Board Boy is one of my favorite ones. Huge in the community, always hanging out and participating. And I'll throw my Board Boy on later so you can see it. I actually haven't been wearing it just because we've had the holiday theme going, but I need to put it back on.
Yeah, that would be great. I haven't actually heard of that project. Would love to learn a bit more about it. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's real fun. But anyways, what would you say? I know we talked about this a little bit on the Yacht Club, but what would you say is some of the biggest, misconceptions, going into tax season that, people that are newer to crypto, or just, with the exception of just having a lack of care, some of these people, they're so fresh. Maybe one of these meme coins pulled them in, and a lot of them, they haven't made any money either. But if they have, what's some of the biggest misconceptions that we can kind of overcome and help them, realize that they need to take a look and make sure they're in the clear when reporting their taxes?
Yeah, sure. I think in general, the biggest overall misconception is that, because it's decentralized, because it's crypto, that taxes don't apply to any of these transactions. But if you're at least beyond that point and you recognize that if you are a U.S. tax resident, the IRS is going to want their hand in the cookie jar, then if you've at least acknowledged that these transactions do fall under the sort of IRS's purview for tax purposes, then I think at that point, the biggest misconceptions are around what actually constitutes a taxable transaction and what doesn't, because a lot of people are operating, exchanging tokens, buying and selling NFTs, and they may or may not actually be converting back to fiat and holding US dollars, and they're sort of operating under the misconception that as long as I'm keeping all the money in the form of crypto, I haven't actually had a taxable transaction yet, which is a really dangerous misconception. And so that's sort of the biggest point that, coming on your podcast, speaking in Twitter spaces, trying to get as much of the information out there so that people understand what types of transactions are taxable, and knowing that even if you're not exchanging, pulling back out to fiat, you still do have tax liabilities that are, racking up as you're transacting. So that's a really important question. Really glad you brought that up, because I think if people walk away with at least knowing those couple points, that'll serve them tremendously.
Yeah, and I know we heard it repeated multiple times, saying, hey, well, what if I've never taken out my cashed it out in the sense of turning it into fiat, or, I've only bought on a wallet. I haven't, had any sort of KYC involved in any of my transactions. What about that? And I'm not saying whether that's a good or bad question, but clearly you're not going to advise somebody to how they could avoid paying taxes. But there is some truth to the fact that if there is no record, right now, there may not be a way for that to be tracked, but that doesn't mean that that'll always be the case in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the real crux of it, right? It's like, even if you think you may be able to sort of quote get away with underreporting or just not reporting, this year you may not hear anything from the IRS for a year, 2 years, but eventually what I can promise you is that because this space, crypto, is the biggest focus that the IRS, is placing their time and resources into right now, that may not be this year that you get the notice in the mail, maybe 2-3 years from now, but regardless of when it happens, they'll retrospectively apply interest and penalties accordingly. So you don't want to be in that boat where it's been a couple years and that interest and penalty has been accruing for amounts of taxable activity that you underreported or just neglected to report altogether. So as long as you make what's called a good faith effort, as long as to the best of your ability, you report accurately, the tax liability for capital gains and income related to crypto activity, just report, make your good faith effort. And if you've reported, then at least the IRS can't come to you and say, impose some form of negligence penalty and say, you just neglected to make an effort to report this altogether. You could say, well, no, actually, I had a conversation with a CPA. I made my best effort to determine what my calculations are. I've reported. If we need to make adjustments, that's great. But then at that point, you can pretty much guarantee that the IRS will be a little bit more forgiving on the penalties and interest. They may just amend your return if it ever came, to an audit, in that kind of circumstance. So just make a good faith effort, report, know that you've got an obligation. Just don't put yourself at risk for that worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's great advice. And one thing to remember too, you may have a wallet that you think is untouchable. A lot of us, I myself, I think I have a total of 9 wallets just for sorting purposes. But if you have a wallet that you think that you haven't used, you haven't attached KYC, this, that, and maybe you haven't, and you do not report any sort of gain or any type of attachment to that wallet, but then the next year, you have one transaction between that wallet and another wallet. You're using that for an on-ramp or an off-ramp. That's going to be found at some point because everything is on the blockchain. That's the beauty of the blockchain, right? That's not a catch-22. That's why it exists. That's how it works. And if you are transacting from one wallet to another wallet, well, of course it's going to be connected, and of course it's going to be able to be seen. So just don't put yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. And just in summary, whether or not the IRS has access to your data or knows about the types of transactions you've incurred, that doesn't change your obligation as a U.S. tax resident to owe tax. So a lot of people have said, well, they don't know, that means I don't owe tax. It's not a factor of whether the IRS has access to that information or knows. That doesn't change your obligation to pay tax. So just that's the blanket catch-all that the IRS will always fall back on.
That is accurate. What was the next question I was going to ask you? Let's jump. Oh, I had a question for you. I kind of worded this on the Yacht Club a little bit. But, and I know you covered about, gifting NFTs away and things like that, but some people wanted some clarification. So for example, if you have an LLC or you have a company and you are gifting away NFTs on a promotional basis, can those be used as a write-off? If so, what is the qualifying factors for that?
Sure. Yeah. And this is a very common scenario. Under the umbrella of a business, a lot of people have purchased NFTs for various reasons, some being just for branding. They want to own a Bored Ape for their business to, have a level of status and brand awareness, or they want the networking component that comes along with that. Those are very straightforward, business use cases for purchasing an NFT. A lot of people have also taken the route of let's try to build community by doing promotional giveaways of NFTs. And that's another great way. And so that's also a pretty straightforward ordinary necessary business expense. And so what your actual deduction would be, and this is kind of where I think it's important to clarify for people, is your cost basis in the NFT that you're giving away is going to be your business's purchase price of the asset, plus any gas fees or transaction fees that you incurred to acquire that NFT. And then when you give it away, your deduction is only that, your cost basis, the amount that you expended to acquire that asset to then give it away for promotional purposes. It's not the current fair market value of the NFT. So some people have said, oh, I bought an ape at 1 ETH, and now I'm doing a giveaway, and now it's worth 50 ETH. Can my business deduction be like the 50 ETH? And unfortunately, it can't be, but you do still get the business deduction for it, which is a good benefit in the context of a giveaway in a business.
Now, what if a business is creating the NFT, but it is an NFT that is for sale, for example? It is something that is sold, has a price associated with it, whether it be an Ethereum or Matic, and it's being given away promotionally as well.
Yeah, so in that instance, that's a bit different. So if you created the NFT and you're giving it away for promotional purposes, then you'd have to just make the argument of what the appropriate fair market valuation is for that NFT. If it's a project that's got an established floor price, for example, that's a pretty readily determinable, valuation that you could defend. In that case, if it's one that you created and then you're giving away for promotional purposes, then it's the fair market value. So what you could have essentially sold it for and received that you neglected not to do, and you gave it away instead. So that's a slightly different scenario. But if it's an NFT that you bought and then are just giving away, cost basis, created an NFT though, let's get documentation together, determine appropriate fair market value, and then that's your deduction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had thought about that after our conversation on Tuesday, and I thought, you know what, I think this scenario may be essentially just how you explained it. So a good I can't say the word I'm trying to say. Every once in a while I can't say this word, but a good separation of situations.
Sure, definitely.
I'll use plenty of words instead of the one word I can't get off my tongue. But yeah, because I do see that a lot. I do see a lot of spaces giving away different things. I know Jared brought it up. He was giving away an apocalyptic ape, and obviously it was worth quite a bit more than what it was when he purchased it the other day. But these are important things to know because we are, again, my listeners have heard me say it multiple times this last couple of weeks, but we are, trailblazers. We are the ones that really are here to we need to regulate ourselves and show that we have some concern and discernment, because that way when the actual regulators come in, they have something to base that off of, because not everybody that's coming in to regulate this space is as well versed as you are, right? And we know that, and they're looking to see what has been established, what's working, what's not working, what they want to continue, what they don't want to continue. So the better that we can participate in this space responsibly, the better off we're going to be when those lawmakers and regulators do come in, because they're going to be looking to those who are responsible for guidelines to set in place.
Exactly. So well said. And I mean, to your point, spending a week in knee deep in the NFT or Web3 space feels like a year of knowledge. So that, you forget when someone's new and entering the space, how much knowledge you've actually acquired just by, being knee deep in the space for a matter of months, even, so it is really important that, for newcomers entering the space, that we kind of rewind, put that, our newbie mindset back on and be welcoming and set, like you said, sort of self-regulating and keeping our, making sure we've got concise, consistent information out there for people to use as a resource when they are new to the space.
Absolutely. All right. And I have 3 questions from the interwebs that I'm going to give to you, and then we'll continue on. Calafia, he asked you a couple questions, I believe, on the Yacht Club on Tuesday, but his question's very short, so I think I'll add to it to try to frame it. But he says, do I have to prove that my wallet was compromised and my crypto was stolen? And I believe he's referring to whether or not he's claiming losses. Would be my assumption.
Mm-hmm, sure. Yes, answer on that is, if it's within the context of your business, you can claim loss from theft, etc., as a loss deduction for your business. If you're an individual collector of NFTs or investor in crypto, unfortunately, as the regulations stand now, you're not able to take a deduction or realized capital loss on loss from theft or lose your keys to your wallet, for example, which is one area that I'm really hoping we see in 2022 some more clarifying, guidance on, because I think this is becoming all too common, of a scenario for people. But unfortunately, as it stands now, unless you're within the context of a business, there's no real immediate deduction or write-off that you can take with respect to crypto and NFTs for loss from theft or rug pulls, etc.
Perfect. And then this is a question that I had actually asked, but somebody, I think they missed it, but I'll ask it again. They're asking about what about taxes on redistributed tokens, where redistributed tokens were multiplied. There was technically gains on that redistribution. They're from South Africa, but they thought that would be a good question for those of us in the U.S. And that's from Johannes.
Yeah, so I guess redistributed, what do you mean by that? Like, do you mean staking? Is that kind of what you think they're getting there?
Yeah, either from staking or, a lot of like Flavors BSC, who was the sponsor of the event the other night. There's a lot of these tokens that when you hold them, you get paid in reflections just for holding. It's like almost like an auto built-in staking. Yep. Just for being a hodler of that particular token. You get paid usually in reflections of that same token. But in the case of Flavors, they pay out in 2 different tokens at a time every 2 weeks.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. So in the case of reflections or any type of reward token that you're receiving for having a position in a given, portfolio or project, the USD equivalent value of those reflections or reward tokens that you're receiving is what's going to be taxable to you at your ordinary income tax rate. So it's just important to sort of mentally note that you've got an idea of what your income tax bracket is for federal and state based on your, total overall income levels. Earmark, set aside conservatively what you may owe in tax for those reward tokens that you're receiving. But it's pretty straightforward, like tax as if, like in the real world, interest income is taxed at your ordinary income rate, for example.
Perfect. Great answer. And last but not least, we have Pablo Escabra, which is a hilarious name. His question is, if you take losses on a business but have capital gain with crypto, can business losses offset capital gains taxes?
So the tricky part about capital gains is that as an individual investor, the only way to really offset those is with realized capital losses. If we're talking about within the context of a business, though, like your business incurred capital gains and losses from, buying and selling crypto or NFTs, then in that instance, your overall business's net profit would be in consideration for tax. So like if we're talking about in the context of a business incurring capital gains and losses, and then also having ordinary business income, business expenses to offset, then that's sort of a different scenario. But from the perspective of an individual investor, your capital gains from individual investing are separate and offset by capital losses. And then if you've got business losses from a business that you own, but your capital gains are not within the context of that business, then those are sort of 2 different taxable buckets. That may have been a more complicated answer to the question.
No, that was good. That's good.
Pablo, if you're listening and you want to talk through more specifically your circumstances, just send me a DM on Twitter or an email. We can talk through the specifics if you like.
Absolutely. Well, we've been going on for almost 40 minutes here. I know you got a lot going on. You have several appointments throughout the day. You just got back. You were gone for barely a day?
Oh yeah, I was out of town yesterday for a couple meetings, so got in a little bit late last night. But no worries. It's all in good fun for the business. So no sweat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where I know where to find you. I know it's taxeswithkate.com, but where else can everyone find you? And can you tell us a little bit about the services that you provide to anybody who is looking to include taxes or has tax related questions in regards to crypto and all of the sort?
Sure. So yeah, absolutely. The website is taxeswithkate.com. We're actually going to be launching a rebrand in the coming weeks, but taxeswithkate.com will still redirect you to the new website once we launch the rebrand. So that's exciting. Keep an eye out for that. And my email currently is info@taxeswithkate.com. That's the best email to use to get a hold of me. It's listed on the website as well. But I'm also pretty active on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @KP and happy to accept DMs on Twitter if you've got like one-off questions. I do my best to at least once a day get in there and knock off as many DMs as possible. I'm also on Discord, same user handle @KP Waltman. Try to pop in and out of the Discords for the various NFT projects that I'm invested in or keeping an eye on. So, but admittedly, I'm a bit better at checking my Twitter DMs than I am my Discord DMs. But those are both options that I'll throw out on the table to get in touch.
I feel that for sure. Well, it's been a blast getting to know you. I feel like I've known you for longer than 4 or 5 days here, but like I told everybody on the Yacht Club, guys, and I'm going to say to you here on the podcast, Kate is a wealth of information. There's not even a second before she starts, formulating her answer. And that is a true tell of somebody who knows what they're talking about. And so expect to see more Kate around these parts via the Yacht Club or Moon Vibes podcast as often as we can bend her ear. But again, she does have a website right now. It is taxeswithkate.com. She offers services. Be sure to check those out and reach out to her in the DMs on Twitter and all these other various places that she mentioned. And we will be talking offline here soon about when we can have her come back. I know Yacht Club is booked pretty heavy next week, but sometime in the month of January, it'd be great to have her on just for a section of question time, because so many people have questions, and we already kind of covered the basis, and so we'd love to have you back for something like that, just an AMA. I guess you could call it an AMA, but just an answer and question time with myself and maybe some other members from the Yacht Club, and just give you a platform to kind of show what you're made of, because it's good, and you got a lot to offer. So I'm very glad to have met you. Shout out to my friend Penny Crypto, who sent me your profile. He heard you in space somewhere else and said, you got to check her out. She's got a lot of information. And so real happy to have met you.
Oh, couldn't say it better, Kyle. Like, it's been, like you said, just feel like I've kind of slid into the Yacht Club community pretty seamlessly. You guys are so welcoming, and you've got a really, really incredible community that you've built. And I admire that so much, and just feel, like I fit in right away, and really looking forward to listening in on the next Yacht Club in the coming weeks, and love to come back and do another tax AMA, or, talk about tax from different angles, from the angle of a creator, anything like that, if it would help the community. So yeah. I'm here for you guys anytime. We can just get it on the schedule. Love to chat again. And really looking forward to catching up on some of your other podcast episodes. I've really enjoyed being on the show.
It's been a blast, and absolutely just, behind the scenes here, I already got you penciled in for about 40 more conversations. No, I'm just kidding. But obviously, every time a new tax, law is starting to form or has formed, or anything that's in that crypto realm, people always get nervous and have questions. I do my best to answer what I can based off of my research and my knowledge of the laws that were and the laws that are to come. But I would much rather have somebody who has a better hold on it. I think you could be that person. Again, obviously, I know you have your own things going on, but we'll definitely be bending your ear as things change throughout this next year and going forward, because we trust you. You're in here. You're part of the Yacht Club family now, and we hope you stay.
Oh, I love it. Definitely going to stay. And you're right. I imagine in 2022, there'll be a lot of new guidance, coming out. And so I'll certainly be on top of the new releases, and would love to, jump in and have chats with the Yacht Club community, about any new changes to be aware of, from the tax side, or just in general, sort of, the government's take on classifying crypto. So yeah, let's definitely keep in touch. Really excited to be involved, and would love to get on the schedule again to come back.
Absolutely, will do. And we can talk more about Japan.
No doubt, no doubt.
That's
Yeah, I'm
very
gonna brush up
exciting.
on my Japanese for next time.
Unfortunately, I don't know any Japanese. I'm trying to learn too many languages at once. And Japan, or Japanese rather, is I have that on like level 5 right now.
Nice.
But yes, if you could speak Japanese, that would be great. I work for another project that's name it's called Mirai Labs, and Mirai, of course, means future.
Nice.
The other part that's cool is their paired token is called Nala, which is Korean for Earth. So that kind of hits all my nerdy vibes in another realm. But but anyways,
cool. Very, very cool.
But fun to have you here. And we'll definitely hear from you again soon. Guys, be sure to check out her website. Be sure to give her a follow and send her your questions and hire her if you don't have a tax advisor already, because she knows what she's doing, and she's in it to win it and help you out. Make sure you are not caught by surprise by any of those guys in whatever suits they wear. Now, I don't know what they wear, but you don't want to get caught between a rock and a hard place. So
right.
Thanks again, Kate. I appreciate you, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Kyle. It's been a blast.
Well, there you have it, guys. Great time with Kate. Thanks again, Kate, for being here, guys. If you listened this far, good on you. You're one of the smart few because, Kate is an excellent resource, and I'm just glad that we could have her on this podcast. She will be returning in some different shapes and forms, as well as in some Twitter spaces and back on the Yacht Club. So be sure to tune in for her. But until then, be sure to check out her website and give her a follow on Twitter. I will leave the links in the podcast notes. So it is the New Year's Eve day. It is the day of New Year's Eve. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. So I probably won't see too many of you around in Twitter spaces. I will be hanging out with my wife and, doing whatever we're going to do for New Year's Eve. But as always, I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Moon Vibes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media. Visit our sponsor and affiliate links in the description, or leave a rating and review. Be sure to follow your host on Twitter at CryptoKyleMQT. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.